Hello to all my wonderful patrons and the people who were patient enough to wait a year to see the video version of episode 95 of Fix My Car Cast, which is what this is. The audio version came out a year ago if you didn't pay for this, and is out right now if you did. So this is the episode I'm going to use a witchboard. It is also the episode that I have to start with a very heartfelt message up front. So please bear with me. This show is in Maine, and I need to speak to what happened in Maine very recently. So I'll be doing that in a little bit. Oh, but first, I just remembered I have to do a little bit of maintenance. I have to do a little syncing of the visual here. So let me make sure that everything is in frame. Great. 3, 2, 1. All right. That's going to have to do it for the clapper. All right. Just think of what to say here. Before I start my goofy little show, I just want to say that the best city in the world, for real, is Lewiston, Maine. My heart goes out to everyone affected by the tragic shooting there. And when I say everyone, I do mean everyone. I do a lot of asking for donations and votes on this show, and today is no different. So if you can, please donate to any of the Lewiston fundraisers that are linked in the episode description. And in terms of votes, I'd appreciate it if you could vote out the monsters that keep allowing this to happen. If any of them happen to be listening, may a bat piss in your mouth. All right, let's talk about some horror movies. And this is where the theme song would go. Oh, I never did anything for a thumbnail. Fun times. All right, we'll get this rolling. That's recording. That's really important. A multicam shoot. You guys need that. All right. This could come up a little, and it's gonna. There we go. That's a better angle. You're listening to Fix My Car Cast, hosted by Bear Claw Billy, and this is episode 95. Comedian and musician Keith Hebert isn't moving it, you guys, for real. But first, housekeeping. This is the show where you pick what I say and how I say it. Pick a topic or prompt by donating to the GoFundMe, and vote on the gimmick by joining my Patreon for just $1 a month. Join at the $5 or higher level and also get bonus episodes and behind-the-scenes footage. Links are in the description. Also down there, merch. Get yourself some merch. Reach deep within yourself and find the merch you seek. No new donors this week. The total raise for paying off my car repair debt is holding at $1,571. Also, when we get to $2,000, we unlock an automatic show gimmick, which is I will watch all the Fast and Furious movies back to back and then record my podcast at the end. Fun fact, did you know that this whole podcast disappears when we hit $3,000? Talk about unfinished business. Hey, do you like the theme song? No? Well, if you make a donation of $50 or more, in addition to picking an episode topic, you get to change one thing about the theme song forever, unless somebody else changes it back. Want me to consult the spirits about some new lyrics? I'll do it. $50. No new patrons this week. Bummer. Now it's time for a topic suggestion. I'll suggest topics I think I could easily talk about for a whole episode, though admittedly, I think the show is more fun when it's something I'm completely clueless about. So, something I could talk about is your mom. No, for real. Get a whole episode about your mom. Mother's Day is right around the corner. What a special gift. Want to impress your mom? Donate today. I feel like I've done that one before. The topic suggestion, not your mom. And now, a final friendly reminder that I have a spooky new album out. It's called Cult Horror, Original Motion Picture Soundtrack. And it is both a love letter to horror movie scores and a concept album as a soundtrack to a film that doesn't exist. So please go check it out, leave a review, tell your friends, etc., etc. Check the links in the description and enjoy the album that made one friend say, I listened to your Halloween album while I was cleaning and I felt like I was in a horror movie. Checking in on the best city in the world based on which city listened to the last episode the most. And our big winner is New York, New York. Congratulations, New York, New York. They must have loved the Ellis Island story last week. Let it be known that your House of the Seven Gables, Old Burying Point Cemetery, and statue of Elizabeth Montgomery are the best in the world for 7 days. Last episode, I told 2 truths and a lie while doing a Cenobite voice. You can see video of the entire episode, including my goofy costume, over on Patreon. Also, head over to Patreon for a bonus episode where I talk about, among other things, my terrible idea for a spin-off of Hot Ones. By the way, were you able to figure out which story was the lie last week? Here's a hint. It might be the one where what happened and who was involved changed completely by the end. Go back and listen carefully. You can spot it pretty easily. As someone who has seen both Gifted Hands, the Ben Carson story, and every Godfather's Pizza commercial available on YouTube multiple times, both things are true, I have no excuse for mixing up Ben Carson and Herman Cain. If you're a member of Ben Carson's family, he is very much alive. And look out! He's got a hammer! Okay, let's talk next week's gimmick poll. These are your choices for next week's episode gimmick. They are: eat Mentos and drink Diet Coke, record it in a walk-in freezer, compose a wordless piece of music to represent the topic, and our returning gimmick, do a foghorn leghorn voice. Once again, that's number 1, eat Mentos and drink Diet Coke. Number 2, record it in a walk-in freezer. Number 3, compose a wordless piece of music to represent the topic. And our returning gimmick, number 4, do a foghorn leghorn voice. I only do the modern characters all the kids love. Remember that any gimmick that gets just a single vote is eligible for a second chance in 6 weeks. Be sure to vote over on Patreon. The poll closes Thursday, November 2nd at noon Eastern America time. All right, time for today's gimmick, which is use a witch board, also known as a talking board, spirit board, or by the brand name of Ouija board. I've got one right here, and I intend to keep my fingers on the planchette the entire episode. Of course, gimmicks don't start until housekeeping is out of the way in case any of them prevent me from sharing vital information. But now, we are entering the gimmick zone. From this point on, gimmicks are active and everything is improvised. Today's topic is a Halloween spookstravaganza, where I review the 31 horror movies I watched for the very first time this month. Welcome to the Halloween Horror Review 23. And before I put my hands on the planchette, I have to click over to my list of movies, and I have to make sure that we're still recording on the old overhead camera. So that's right, folks. For this particular episode, it's a multicam shoot. If you have paid to see the video versions. All right, I am now placing my fingers on the planchette, and my fingers are now on the planchette. If you have not paid to see how adorable my witchboard is, quite. All right, so this, I will tell you right up front, is going to be a longer episode. If you didn't hear last year's Halloween horror review, yeah, I watched 31 horror movies in October of last year, and guess what, folks? I watched 31 horror movies in October of this year as well. All of them films I'd never seen before, with one technicality, because I got into it and I realized, wait, I've seen part of this on TV, like when I was very little. Guess which one? I'll tell you when we get to it. But before I start talking about movies, I'll be honest, you guys, I don't have a lot of experience with a witchboard. What are you supposed to do? I've seen the movie Witchboard, and I'm pretty sure one of the big rules was you're not supposed to use it by yourself. So I'm a little worried about that, but also, you know, you're not supposed to look in the mirror and say Candyman 5 times, and I did that, and that just turned me into a werewonka, so I'm assuming everything will be fine, and I will just keep my fingers resting on the planchette the entire time. I do know a protection spell that you can do before you start using a witchboard, but I forgot to do it, so I guess we'll see what happens. all I know about seances, I know from Bill and Ted 2. So I think you call out to the spirit that you would like to commune with. So before we get started, let's do that now. There are so many legends of horror that I would like to speak to. I think I'm going to try for Boris Karloff. And if I can't get Boris Karloff, we'll see if Elsa Lanchester's home. How does that sound? I have not looked up if any of the horror icons that I'm trying to contact today are not actually still with us. I messed up about Ben Carson last week, so this could get real embarrassing, folks. Okay, so my fingers are on the planchette. They have not left it. And now, spirits, icons of horror cinema, please come forth and speak to me. I am reaching out to Boris Karloff. Please be a guest on my show as I tell all the nice people about what I watched on October 1st. Boy, my fingers are going to get tired, and this is going to be like an hour-long episode. All right, well, Boris Karloff, I don't know if you ever saw it. I'm guessing probably you couldn't on a technicality, but I'm about to tell the nice people what I thought of Critters, and maybe you can speak to us while I do that. Admittedly, this topic and this gimmick are not maybe conducive to each other. Also, the planchette has not moved yet. We'll see if it does. So let's get going on these horror movie reviews. On October 1st, I watched 1986's Critters. If you don't know anything about Critters, it is a Gremlins ripoff, and for my money, it is not a very good Gremlins ripoff. I was really upset to report that because I love when horror movie ripoffs come out, and like they wear on their sleeves that they're a ripoff, but they still try to do something with it. So yeah, Critters is a Gremlins ripoff. I was surprised to learn that it's more of a sci-fi than a fantasy. I feel like the Gremlins are solidly in the fantasy realm in terms of being these mythological creatures from China. But yeah, Critters, I was surprised to learn that the critters are from space. And also there's a couple of guys hunting the critters that steal people's faces, and it's very complicated. Some good special effects. But yeah, I just felt like the story had a little too much going on, and I'm saying this about a ripoff of Gremlins, which has way too many rules, but at least those were just rules. This is like actual stuff happening. Oh, what do you do when your nose itches when you're using a witchboard? Oh, folks. Oh, that's what you do. All right, spirits, if you have anything to say about the movie Critters, which I found to be kind of anticlimactic and didn't really top some of the fun stuff of Gremlins, Boris Karloff, if you had to rank the movie Critters on a scale of 1 to 10, the 0 on the witchboard representing 10 in this case, what would you give Critters, Boris Karloff? Well, nothing yet. I give Critters, I wanted more. I wanted more from it. I will say I've seen ads for the Critters sequels, and 2 looks like it's got a bit of fun going on, so maybe I should check that out later, but I will let you all know in advance I did not watch any of the Critters sequels. Folks, I think I'm going to take my glasses off, and I promise not to take my fingers off the planchette, so let's solve that problem. Oh boy. Oh boy. I promised not to take my fingers off the planchette. Great job, me. Okay, let's keep going with our Halloween horror review. On October 2nd, I watched a little movie starring David Arquette. You know, it's that horror classic, Eight-Legged Freaks. Gosh, my fingers are really starting to ache. So I'd never seen Eight-Legged Freaks before. It definitely has kind of a Tremors vibe. Definitely a throwback to old 50s creature features. It was solidly all right. I didn't expect to like it more than Critters. I figured Eight-Legged Freaks would be more forgettable. And it is to a point, but I just realized it's not taking my fingers off the planchette if I move the planchette as well. So, okay, I'm doing that. It's not Boris Karloff trying to help take my glasses off. Okay, we're back to the center. I hope that didn't scare off all the spirits. We're not hearing anything from Boris, so Elsa Lanchester. I call upon the spirit of Elsa Lanchester. Please, Elsa Lanchester, join us and tell us what you thought of Eight-Legged Freaks. I'm assuming there's a movie theater in heaven, or wherever you may be, in the realm beyond. The planchette still not doing anything. Okay. So, yeah, Eight-Legged Freaks. It was fun. The special effects held up more than I thought they would. Like, it's definitely early CGI, and when you watch it, you can tell, like, oh, yeah, this is early CGI days. But, yeah, I had a good time. Also, it's funny that Scarlett Johansson is in it because she played Black Widow, and she's in a movie about giant spiders. Haha, tee-hee, hoo-hoo. That's very fun. So yeah, I would say it's worth a watch, but not like anything you have to run right out and watch. So that's my take on October 2nd's movie, Eight-Legged Freaks. Keeping an eye on the time because we know this is going to be a long episode. On October 3rd, I watched The Host, 2006's The Host. Some of these have the same titles as other movies, so I'm trying to do the year for each one. Critters was 1986, Eight-Legged Freaks was 2002, and The Host is 2006 I want to say directed by Bong Joon-ho. Really liked The Host. Some of these are hard to talk about without giving too much away. But The Host is interesting because it does something I don't know if I've seen in a creature feature before, I guess unless you're counting zombies, which is like there's a monster roaming the streets, but also it is contagious. And like, that's cool. So there's an element of like, we've got to kill the monster, but wait, if you try to kill the monster, you may get infected. So that was a really neat concept. I feel like I've also seen Snowpiercer, and it felt like that as well. I have an itch on my head. It felt like Snowpiercer in that like it was satire that maybe didn't function outside of being satire on some levels. Okay, folks, I technically never said how many fingers I have to keep on the planchette. I have to scratch my head. Sorry, Elsa. I didn't mean to let you down, Elsa Lanchester. Can you ever forgive me? I got kind of worried it was going to move there. Of course, now my elbow itches. Folks, don't be itchy if you're going to use a witchboard. Anyway, The Host, check it out. I liked it. Good performances. And also just like a very interesting message of like what horror protagonists mean to us is all I'll say. It definitely made me think a lot about like why we root for the characters we root for, and The Host kind of turns that on its head, and I thought that was really interesting. Okay, I can't stop itching, and so far this planchette has not budged. It is just focusing on love, and maybe that is the ultimate message. Maybe all the ghosts just want us to love ourselves. October 4th, 1987's The Gate. My friends, I had never heard of this movie. Oh, and actually, I think this is one of two movies that I caught a tiny piece of on TV. Do you ever find a movie on a streaming service and you're just like, it is impossible that I've never heard of this? Well, that's The Gate. So it is a Goonies. And I say this is like Goonies is a kind of movie. The Goonies, the original, is for kids who love adventure. The Neverending Story is kind of... the Neverending Story or Labyrinth is Goonies for fantasy kids, though admittedly those are all about kids' solo adventures, but they have the same spirit of... a child's spirit of adventure. Explorers is Goonies for sci-fi kids, and Monster Squad, I would have... Okay, this is an important distinction. If you like Monster Squad, I think you'll like The Gate, but... Oh, I'm so itchy. I feel like Monster Squad is the Goonies for horror kids, and The Gate is for kids who are actual Satanists. Probably the most appropriate movie to be talking about with this gimmick. Yeah, The Gate... is about kids who are like obsessed with Satanism, and oops, they open a portal to hell. The special effects are wild and very gruesome, and like I don't know what it was rated, but it really felt like a movie about kids that was not for kids, but maybe kind of was for kids if they were sneaking in to see it. I don't know. I feel like it came out in that era where we hadn't quite figured out what PG meant and what PG-13 or what PG-13 meant. So yeah, but I really liked the special effects. Genuinely creeped me out, a lot of them. Yeah, I recommend The Gate. I think definitely recommend The Gate. And by the way, I found out there is a Gate 2. Spoilers coming up for the rest of this episode, but I might fit The Gate 2 in if I can find it, because it looks like the same cast, but a few years later, so like the kids are grown up. And say what you will, but The Goonies doesn't have a 2. Though I bring that up because I think my parents saw a part of The Gate on TV and thought it was a sequel to The Goonies. And I just remember them saying like, oh, it's The Goonies 2. And me being like, there's a Goonies 2. There's a Goonies 2 video game. There is not a Goonies 2 movie. But in my child's heart, I just always thought there was a Goonies 2. So anyway, I finally saw The Goonies 2, Goonies but for Satanists. And I recommend. Check it out some night. All right. So we've done the 80s, we've done the 2000s. We're going all the way back now to 1942. On October 5th, I watched Cat People. And you know what they say, cat people got no reason to live. Cat People was interesting. I know that there is a remake. I have not seen the remake. But yeah, it was an older movie, so, you know, whenever you're watching an older horror movie, you're like, well, it's not going to creep me out as much. And can confirm, yeah, it didn't quite freak me out, though there is one very terrifying scene at a public swimming pool that really felt like something out of like modern horror. Like I was really impressed by it. But yeah, it didn't do a ton for me. I feel like it's one of those movies that gets recommended a lot, but watching it, I was kind of like, I kind of want to give it another shot. I feel like it's that kind of movie where I'm like, maybe I wasn't in the right headspace for it. I was kind of bored. I kind of wasn't really sucked in by the story that much, but like, you know, I'd give it another shot. I'd watch it again sometime, maybe pair it with the remake. So that's what I thought about Cat People. All right. Moving the clock a little forward now to 1960. October 6th, I watched Eyes Without a Face. And I've got to say, this is proto Michael Myers. Sorry, I just realized I haven't been looking at the camera. I'm not used to doing a multicam shoot. Eyes Without a Face. It's pretty good. Really shocking twist I didn't see coming. That kind of freaked me out. I will say, so the whole premise is that this woman is wearing like a white mask that covers her face because she has horrible scars. And I will say, because it's in black and white, I got a face itch again. Because it's in black and white, it's kind of hard to tell that she's wearing a mask at all. So like at a distance when we're supposed to be creeped out, it's just like, oh look, a regular normal woman. Oh, okay, she's wearing a mask. So, you know, whatever, they did what they could with the technology they had at the time. But anyway, I liked it. It was an interesting one. Some creepy visuals, some good twists. I would recommend Eyes Without a Face. Give it a watch. I am now trying to contact the spirit of William Castle. Horror gimmick legend William Castle. Please give me your ideas for gimmicks, from one gimmick master to another, from the gimmick master to the gimmick mistress, please. Oh, the spirit of William Castle, please reach out to me and show me the money. William Castle, tell me what you thought of Eyes Without a Face. It's possible you've seen it. Well, Cat People for sure. All right, on to the year of 2022, October 7th, I watched Kids vs. Aliens, and wow, was I underwhelmed. I really wanted to enjoy it, and I didn't. My fingers are getting so tired. I really hope it was worth watching a planchette stay in one place for a whole hour. I hope you guys are enjoying yourselves. So, Kids vs. Aliens, I did not know this until after I finished the movie, so great job making it clear to me. This is actually a feature-length film based on a segment from one of the VHS movies. And I've seen all the VHS movies, and I didn't remember this segment, so I'm guessing it was one of the earlier ones, and it wasn't terribly memorable to me. And apparently there's other full-length spin-offs of VHS shorts, so I don't know, go check those out, I guess. I think there's another one called Siren or something, which you think is more up my alley. I will say there are mermaids on this list, so stay with me if you only listen to this show for the mermaid content. Kids vs. Aliens, I feel like too much kids, not enough aliens. The kids really won in terms of screen time. Interesting characters to be sure, but like at a certain point it's just kind of like, hey, this feels like 70% humans. Can we see what the aliens are up to? And also I feel like the effects were just kind of good. For today, obviously, like, you know, this stuff would blow people's minds just 10 years ago, but like, I don't know how to say this. It felt like a movie a friend of mine made, And like, I feel like that would bump it up if I was like, wow, you put a lot of effort into this. But like, it never really gelled as a story for me. I wanted to enjoy it more, and it just kind of never really got there for me. So I'm sorry. I do not recommend Kids vs. Aliens. Throw it on as background at a party, but I'm pretty sure your guests will just look up and be like, are there aliens in this? So don't want to disappoint them. Spirit of William Castle, what do you think of Kids vs. Aliens? Yeah, that's what I thought. Oh boy, what a fun-filled, exciting gimmick we've got here today. All right, let's go to 1983 and get to know Felissa Rose in a little movie called Sleepaway Camp, which I watched on October 8th, 2023. A bit surprising to some people that I haven't seen Sleepaway Camp. I feel like it was pretty high on my list of, you haven't seen that? Horror movies. We'll get to some other ones, though, let me tell you what. I really dug it. I will say this, if you know nothing about Sleepaway Camp, keep it that way. Go watch it right now. Because it has arguably one of the biggest cinematic twists, certainly one of the bigger twists in horror cinema. So don't get that spoiled for you. But yeah, it was good. It was a good mystery. Admittedly, I knew the twist going in because everybody talks about the twist from the movie. So once again, if you haven't seen it, get that done. Get to Sleepaway Camp. Do it. Make it happen. It is a good, slasher at a camp movie. Like, there's some really creative kills, some funny ones, some shocking ones. It's worth a watch. And I guess that's all I'll say about it before you've seen it, but I don't know, maybe the bonus episode. That's what the bonus episode should be. Spoilers. Just spoilers for these. Oh my gosh, I'm so clever. Isn't that right, William Castle? No? Well, put James Whale on the phone. Director, of course, of Frankenstein and Bride of Frankenstein and The Invisible Man and probably some other things. James Whale, if you're there, speak to us and tell us what you thought of Sleepaway Camp, a film I'm pretty darn sure you couldn't have seen. Oh boy. Okay, so confession, I didn't know what this next movie was about, but I should have if I just thought a little harder because I had read the book. On October 9th, I watched a film from 2023 called The Last Voyage of the Demeter. And this is one I could also recommend go in cold, but there's a clue right in the title. Now, if Demeter doesn't mean anything to you at this moment right now, go watch The Last Voyage of the Demeter. That said, they tell you in an opening title card who's in it. So it's like, is it a spoiler? Isn't it a spoiler? I think that was the worst thing about the movie for me, was they couldn't quite decide if they wanted to reveal what actually was on this ship. It's also not the only boat movie that we've got in today's episode, just to let you know. I realize I got to pick up the pace if I'm going to get through all of these, so let me just say, The Last Voyage of the Demeter, last chance to turn back if you don't want spoilers. Boat Dracula. That's right. It is Dracula on a boat, and I know some of you may be thinking, why would you actively watch a movie about Dracula? Well, I forgot, okay? If this is your first time listening to the show, I have kind of a difficult relationship with Dracula. I want nothing to do with him, and I've got to say, this movie, being a biopic, it really gave me some insights into how fucking terrible Dracula is, and I'm really glad that I don't associate with him anymore. Anyway, great movie about a terrible man. Let's move to 1989 for Puppet Master, the film I watched on October 10th. So I wanted to give Puppet Master a lot of credit because from the opening of the movie, there's creepy evil puppets running around doing nasty deeds. And I was like, hell yes. I feel like Jaws makes a lot of horror movies feel like we can't just get to the goods because it builds tension to not show you the goods. But Puppet Master is just like, here's the goods. So I was going to praise it for that, but then the story just seemed a little too overcomplicated. Like there was this meeting of magicians and some of the puppets were just very confusing and I don't know. I was digging it. I love watching puppets kill anything. So they did a good job there, but a lot of the kills were almost too creative, and then I was like, oh, that didn't shock me. I just kind of slowly watched that happen. So yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna move my arms a little bit. in the hopes. I keep forgetting to look at the camera because I'm monitoring the Ouija cam. The Witch cam. So apologies, I'm not making as much eye contact for you video watchers. Anyway, Puppet Master, throw it on at a party. I think I would have enjoyed it a lot more if I had friends to make fun of it with. But I didn't. I watched that one alone. So I guess that's my takeaway. Watch Sleepaway Camp. Sorry, not Sleepaway Camp. Puppet Master with your friends. I mean, watch Sleepaway Camp with your friends too if you want. Okay. We're coming to maybe one of the most egregious. Billy, knowing everything I know about you, how have you never seen this movie? On October 11th, I watched 1954's Creature from the Black Lagoon. Pause for gasps. I know, I'd never seen Creature from the Black Lagoon. Friends, I've never had a movie feel more like a warm hug. Like, truly. As soon as the movie started, it started doing that old 50s creature feature thing with, like, a really grandiose speech about the nature of the cosmos and of God himself. Like, when it's just about a little monster in a lake going, blah. Like, so I really loved it from the get-go. Gotta say, it was interesting to watch the original Jaws. There's a lot of things in Creature from the Black Lagoon that are directly lifted in Jaws. And after I finished the movie, I had to look it up. I'm like, has Spielberg ever talked about this? Not ever in a public interview, but there are rumors of people who have spoken to him where he's said, like, yeah, I don't know how I got away with that. But yeah, like the first time the creature goes to attack a woman, yeah, you're just watching the sequence from Jaws. You're just watching the opening of Jaws. Anyway, really good. Gets into things about, like, you know, the corporate nature of science and, like, relationships and stuff. And I didn't see any of that coming. Though it did kind of feel like a ripoff of The Shape of Water without any fucking. So 0 stars. Just kidding. 5 stars. Absolutely loved it. Check out The Creature from the Black Lagoon. Is this planchette gonna get moving anytime soon? I'm starting to believe that they are run by ghosts, because if they're just run by someone's arms getting tired, so far this thing hasn't budged. All right. All the way to 2021, on October 12th, I watched Candyman. Now, I think I mentioned last year, I hate the trend of the sequel that ignores all the other sequels, but also has the same title as the original, meaning that the sequel to Halloween is Halloween, and the sequel to Hellraiser is Hellraiser, and the sequel to Scream 4 is Scream. But nevertheless, here we are with Candyman, the sequel to Candyman. Now, I only support both of them being named Candyman if they make 3 more movies that are all titled simply Candyman. Clever, Billy. So anyway, I keep forgetting the audience is over here. I just keep looking at the Ouija board, the witch board, the what board, the who now, the what now, werewolf, their wolf. Candyman, really good. Directed by Nia DaCosta. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I got the name wrong. She's directing the Marvels movie that's coming out soon. And written by Jordan Peele. And I have to say, it's a fight between Get Out and Candyman, but this may be my favorite movie that Jordan Peele has written. He really went deep. And I can see why he didn't direct, because it's like, you know, directing a sequel that, you know, maybe has some like, oh yeah, I don't know if that's quite the job for me. But my God, I really loved it. Some really interesting effects, some really interesting visual storytelling, and a really good sequel to a movie that is somewhat ambiguous. If you've never seen the original Candyman, definitely recommend. The sequel kind of takes some ambiguous events from the first movie and says, nah, here's what happened. Which is bold. Like, it makes me think, like, if there was a Thing sequel that just told you who was the Thing at the end. Side note, see The Thing. But yeah, no, I really liked it. It was really good. I really recommend the 2021 Candyman, the sequel to Candyman. I suppose I'm looking into quite a few Black Mirrors right now, and I've said Candyman several times, so let's hope there's no Werewonka effects from that yet again. All right, October 13th, good old Friday the 13th, I watched a film from 2023 in its motherfucking debut. That's right, I watched Damnationland 2023. Now, if you're not familiar with Damnationland, I reviewed Damnationland 2022 last year. It is the local horror shorts festival in Maine. Had a blast. It was great as always. Some real standouts. Some amazing puppetry, some amazing animation, like some really good stuff this year. If I had to make one teensy weensy little complaint, which sucks because like actual friends of mine might hear it. So a lot of times with Damnation Land, they do like a wraparound interstitial story, so where it's like shorts that all form a larger story. The planchette moved, but I think it's just because my arm is tired. Sorry, it freaked me out. I was leaning on an armrest, so it may have just been from the gravity, but nevertheless, it moved and I went, ugh. All right, we have Witchboard movement. Like 34 minutes into the episode. Great. Anyway, Damnation Land, pretty good. Was a little hard to tell where the interstitials were. Sometimes I would think I was watching something longer and then, oh, no. Or I'd think something was an interstitial and then it would turn out to be one of the regular shorts. But, like, that's it, honestly. Like, I had a really good time. I thought it was really great. Damnation Land is always a treat. Also, I don't know if they changed the numbering conventions because of lockdown, because I know they missed some years. I hope, I think the title technically is Damnation Land 13, because you gotta when it's the 13th one. But yeah, I'm calling it Damnation Land 2023 just for today. Check out the Damnation Land movies if you have a chance. If you're not from Maine, it's probably a little harder, but I don't know, get in touch with me. I'll mail you one. Sure. All right, so speaking of anthology horror shorts, the next movie was also from 2023. On October 14th, I watched VHS 85. That's right, another installment in the VHS franchise. Now, I believe VHS 99 came out last year. I was a little underwhelmed by that one. I liked VHS 85. They did something kind of creative that I don't want to spoil. One of the shorts really leaves you with a lot of questions, but then those questions get answered in a way that you're like, oh, okay, all right. I don't want to spoil too much, but yeah, really good. I liked a lot of the shorts. I feel like with any of the VHS movies, there's just always a couple shorts where you're like, that wasn't my cup of tea. But some really good ones in VHS 85. I feel like they did a really good job of making it feel like the era that it was in, which I kind of complained about last year's. Didn't really feel like it was set in 1999. I think, maybe. Was that my ultimate complaint? I don't know. One of them, the camera technology seemed too good. Anyway, liked VHS 85. As I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking of more of the shorts, and I'm like, yeah, I really liked a lot of the shorts in that one. So, recommend VHS 85. All right, let's jump to 1991's The People Under the Stairs, directed by Wes Craven. And I got about an hour into it when I realized I think I've seen the ending of this movie. I'm pretty sure I recognize one of the actors, and I recognize like a scene of like some of the things that happened. I didn't watch the whole thing, but nevertheless, it's always interesting to me when I see a movie that I recognize a snippet from in my childhood. I'll tell you, Weird Science was one of those for me. As a kid, I saw just a clip of the lady getting sucked up the chimney and falling into the pool. And just as a kid, I was like, what the hell is this movie? And then I saw Weird Science much, much later. Anyway, The People Under the Stairs, a tough one to talk about because from the title, you know what the creepy thing is. There's people under the stairs, but how did they get there? I'll never tell. Liked it. Check it out. Weirdly, kind of felt like it would go with The Gate, where like it's the main characters are kids, but it's not for kids. Like, I feel like this is like, your kid could watch this. I don't know what the rating was. It's probably R. You know what? I feel like there's a lot of F-bombs. Ving Rhames has some killer lines in this one. You can watch it for those alone. I didn't cover my mouth, but I'm alone. Or am I? Spirits, send me the spirit of Bela Lugosi. Bela Lugosi, if you are there, please speak to us and tell us what you thought of 1998's The Faculty, which I watched on October 16th. So here's my take on The Faculty. Has anyone ever sat down to watch The Faculty? I feel like I've only ever seen it on TV. And it's funny that I don't think of it as a movie I saw on TV because it's not one I sat down to watch. I would just be flipping channels and go, oh, The Faculty, and then keep flipping because, like, I don't know, it just feels like one of those movies that nobody actually says, hey, let's watch X. Not to be confused with X or X, the Man with the X-Ray Eyes, which I recommend both. But anyway, yeah, so The Faculty, it's pretty good. Exceptionally horny, just like a real horny movie. Like a very, very horny movie. Like every teacher is like a super sexy authority figure. But yeah, I liked it. I liked that it went against some tropes of like, horror movies. Some that I don't want to spoil because I think they're genuinely great surprises. But yeah, it's very creature feature. The effects are pretty good. I think it was in that sweet spot where we did a little bit puppets and a little bit CGI. I'm a little bit puppets, I'm a little bit CGI. Anyway, so yeah, I liked The Faculty. It was a good time. 1971, Let's Scare Jessica to Death. October 17th. My friends, I don't know if I've ever more recommended a movie that I can't tell you what the hell happened in it. I enjoyed the hell out of it. It just really felt like the vibe of Halloween. But I just remember getting to the end and being like, so what happened in that? And this is not the fault of the film. This is the fault of my silly ass brain. I would call it a vibes movie. Now, I know you're probably going to go on Wikipedia right now and look up the plot synopsis for Let's Scare Jessica to Death. And I'm sure it has one. But like, guys, I'm so sorry. I still haven't stopped touching the planchette, but I am so itchy. And it's starting to get sweaty in here because it's atypically hot for October. One whose fault that is, Grandpa. Anyway, so Let's Scare Jessica to Death is just this movie where it's like, I don't know, it's just like this woman in like these like kind of idyllic, almost Pleasantville kind of settings, and then like suddenly something really gruesome will be talked about or happen, and she seems like really into it, like yeah, like she's a spooky goth girl, but she doesn't dress like a spooky goth girl. She doesn't give off spooky goth girl vibes, and I fucking love it. It just has this really old-timey vibe to it. Yeah, of all the movies on this list, it's the one that I feel weirdest recommending despite having no idea what happened in it. I watched the whole thing. I was conscious and cognizant the whole way through, but it was just the vibes, my friends. Oh gosh, I'll tell you what, this planchette really needs to start moving because this is a sweaty planchette. That's all I'll say. All right, another movie it may surprise you to learn I've never seen. We're going all the way to 1941. On October 18th, I watched The Wolfman. Great, loved it. My favorite part is that the Wolfman's name is Larry. That's the part that tickled me the most. Lon Chaney Jr., Bela Lugosi, Claude Rains, all the greats. Yeah, I really liked it. I liked the wolf effects. It was a neat little story. They did a good job of like taking werewolf lore, but making their own thing with it. I will say, if you're Romani, maybe skip this one. That did not hold up well. I guess the same recommendation on The Mummy. If you're Egyptian, maybe not. Yeah, like aside from some of that exoticism, I thought it was good. I enjoyed it. Also, it had a really killer line in it. And I love that, like, in old movies, the dialogue is coming in at a 10, no matter what it's about. Like, even if it should be the most throwaway line. And there's one scene where a guy's just looking at the moon through a telescope, because werewolves. And he says something about being an amateur astronomer. And the guy just shoots back, all astronomers are amateur. When it comes to the heavens, there's only one professional. What a fucking great line. How good of a line is it? It has nothing to do with werewolves, and I'm telling you about it right now. What a good line. Like God, like again, it's about God. And like, even if you don't believe in God, what a good line. That's such a good line. I love old movies. Anyway, The Wolfman, check it out. Did I not get any Stephen King on this list? Ooh, I might have to fix that with the last two movies. We'll get to that. I did watch, however, 1999's The Rage, Carrie 2 on October 19th. And I must say, I don't think there is more of a C+ movie in terms of like, okay, I'm watching this. Like, it's got some neat twists from the original. It's definitely got some 1999 special effects. Yeah, it's like I never hated it, but I never was like, oh yeah, gotta recommend this to everyone. So, if you've seen Carrie 1, and by the way, if you haven't seen Carrie 1 and you know nothing about Carrie 1 and you haven't read the book Carrie 1, go read the book Carrie right now. I cannot recommend the book Carrie enough. But it is set up like sort of a mystery. So you can't enjoy it as much if you already know what happens to Carrie, which you do because of cultural osmosis. But if you right now can't tell me what happens to Carrie at the end of the movie Carrie, go read the book Carrie right now. You will thank me. It is such a good read. And don't look up what happens to Carrie at the end of Carrie. Anyway, speaking of horror sequels, let's go to 1986 for Demons 2. It's great. Watch that on October 20th. It is the sequel to Demons, which I have seen. Demons has a great helicopter sequence. I'm pretty sure I reviewed Demons last year, if I'm not mistaken, but I could be mistaken. But Demons 2 is great, and a weird fucking concept for a sequel, because it's like they're watching scenes from Demons 1 in it, and Demons 1 is about like the power of movies. So yeah, it was kind of neat. Yeah, Demons 2 was very interesting. Some really cool effects, albeit maybe ripped off from Mr. Cronenberg. Yeah, really, really dug it. Yeah, solid throw it on at a party. There's lots of like ooey gooey, interesting, fucking weird stuff to look up and go, what's that? While you're, hitting the punch bowl. All right. October 21st, 2013, I watched All Hallows Eve. And it's interesting because I was planning to watch All Hallows Eve because I have not seen the Terrifier movies, the Art the Clown movies, and he got his start in the horror anthology All Hallows Eve. And folks, I feel like this is the opposite of a Let's Scare Jessica to Death. When I got to the end, I could not tell you what the plot was. I couldn't really remember much. I just know Art the Clown was in it, and I've got to say, I feel like Creepy Clown is almost up there with Zombies for me, where I'm like, it's kind of been overdone. Nobody's really had a good spin on it for a long, long time. Maybe we can give the Creepy Clown a rest. And I gotta say, I maybe need to give it another chance. I was a little sleepy that night, but like, I don't know. All Hallows Eve didn't really do it for me. I don't know. There wasn't anything about Art that really stood out to me and like, oh wow, what an iconic horror villain. But I say that with a dash of maybe I need to give it another chance and maybe see the Terrifier movies, like the full-on Terrifier movies that are, as far as I know, just Art the Clown. So anyway, that's what I have to say there. My hand is cramping. And I just felt a bead of sweat drop off of me. So spirits, if you have anything to say, I would really start yapping. At this point, I will take any spirit. I do not need the spirit to be involved in horror cinema in any way. If any spirit is listening right now, please give me a sign. Nothing. Well, the only dead thing in here is air. Anyway, on October 22nd, I watched The Conference, which came out in 2023, this year. It's on Netflix right now. Go check it out if you want. I really liked it. It is a slasher movie at a corporate retreat, and it gives you all the goodies of slasher movies and all the fuck you of corporate retreats. I really liked it. I'm blanking on the country of origin. It is not in English. I can't remember. Either way, go check it out. It's a good mystery, some good twists and turns, some creative kills. I really enjoyed it. Check out The Conference. That one was recommended to me by a friend, and you're right, friend, and now I'm passing on that recommendation. All right, let's go to 1987, because on October 23rd, I watched Opera. That's right. Had to get a Dario Argento in this year. I had a friend recommend this one as well. Told me that Opera is probably Dario Argento's best film. Bold claim, but I really enjoyed it. I don't know if I would quite rank it. I think I enjoyed it more than Suspiria. I enjoyed it a lot more than Phenomena. I'd say probably on par with Tenebrae. I will say, though, it is a sumptuous movie. There's a lot to look at. There's a lot to feast your eyes on. It is a very pretty movie, but also a very shocking and terrifying movie. Some real sadistic shit in this one, if I'm being completely honest. Definitely worth checking out. See Opera, especially if you're an Argento fan. It's a good one. All right. 1958. October 24th, folks, I have a confession. There are some movies that are on this list only because they were very cheap to buy and I could download them to my phone and I could watch them at work at the building factory. So don't tell my boss some of these I was watching at work or watching between work and my plans for the evening, because it's very hard to watch 31 horror movies in a month and still make time for all the wonderful, wonderful people that you love so very much, or at the very least enjoy spending a little time with, and some of whom watch these films with me. But a lot of them were watched by myself. Anyway, I bring that up because I needed something to watch that was short and that I could buy and was cheap, and so I watched sorry, I keep taking my fingers off the planchette, but I am just really getting uncomfortable. This planchette has not budged. If you were hoping for something interesting, folks, I wanted to stay true to this one. I'm not going to cheat it. I'm not going to move it on purpose. Maybe I'm pressing too hard. Let me put a little less pressure on it. Maybe that's what's going on. Anyway, I've never seen a Hammer horror movie, and especially not a Hammer horror Dracula movie. I know, again, watching The Last Voyage of the Demeter made me want to seek out some other biopics about Dracula. I will say this, I don't know if Horror of Dracula is my favorite Dracula movie, but what a great portrayal by the great Christopher Lee. Christopher Lee just absolutely crushes it in this movie. He's a really great Dracula. I think for my own personal Dracula rankings, we have to give it to Bela Lugosi. But I would say Christopher Lee definitely the closest second. And then, I don't know, Gary Oldman, Nicolas Cage, and et cetera, et cetera. But anyway, yeah, I enjoyed it. Admittedly, it's kind of just a retelling of Dracula. I think it was even released as Dracula in 1958, but they changed it to Horror of Dracula so American audiences wouldn't confuse it with the Universal movie. Anyway, yeah, the trademark really, really red blood. Loved that. That was really great. Yeah, I enjoyed it. Again, I think Christopher Lee is great in it, even though he's portraying one of history's worst monsters. But yeah, like as a movie, fine. But Christopher Lee as Dracula, great, and it really makes me want to dive into the sequels, especially because they probably just go off the rails and do their own thing. Or they are, in fact, historical accounts of the life of Dracula and should be studied if anyone wanted to know more about the man, which, you know, I have a strange fascination with him. That's all I'll say. Okay, 1943, Phantom of the Opera. Claude Rains, once again, hiding his face. So, this is the third version of Phantom of the Opera that I've seen, I believe. I think I saw the musical one that came out in the 2000s. My mom and my sister were big fans, and I checked that out. I think I watched the one from like the 1910s. Which, weird side story, it was because our characters watched it in a role-playing game that I'm playing, and I wanted to be well-informed, so I checked it out. That one was very creepy. This one has kind of more of a George Pal, kind of a fun vibe to it. Well, not fun, but it's hard to put your finger on it. Sorry. I'm really starting to get uncomfortable by the fact that my fingers are stuck here, and this planchette has not budged. Maybe I'm pressing too hard. I'm going to try to be really gentle with it. Oh. Okay. Maybe I was just pressing too hard for the spirits to move it. If you're watching the video, it did just move. Oh, okay. Okay. Great. Cool. Is there a spirit in the room? Folks, I'm being 100% honest with you. This is feeling like a muscle response because it's not going to any words. It is just drifting off the board. That was interesting. Don't know if any of you are believers, but I'm kind of on team. Yeah, it's just your muscles getting tired, as evidenced by the fact that this board is showing me nothing. Spirits, are you there? Do you have anything to say about Claude Rains in Phantom of the Opera from 1943. Truth be told, I don't know if Claude Rains is still with us. Is this Claude Rains? Is Claude Rains speaking to me right now? Folks, I am not moving this. I swear to God. Okay. All right. And we seem to have come to a stop on absolutely nothing. But nevertheless, shit's Shit's moving. I ask one more time before moving on. Claude Rains, are you with us and can you hear my voice? Cinema legend Claude Rains, who it'll be very embarrassing to discover might still be alive. You join the annals of Ben Carson for people I've proclaimed dead on this show but aren't. Okay, well, we're just hovering on nothing. So spirits, is there a spirit in this room right now? Little buck, little kick, but didn't go nowhere. All right. Well, I guess we'll. Oh, it's moving again. Okay. I'm gonna lift my hands up and try to give a little bit lighter touch. Okay. I'm gonna review movies while this thing moves around. It seems really focused on the numbers. For a second, I thought Claude Rains was giving Phantom of the Opera a 10, but now whoever this is really loves cats. So if you can't see my witchboard, there are cats on it, and the planchette has pointed to cats or spaces near cats twice. So I guess to answer, is Phantom of the Opera a good movie? Cat fur. Well, at least we got some action before the end, so I'll take it. All right, so Phantom of the Opera, good time. I enjoyed it. Definitely more fun than scary, I think. But okay, 2017's The Lure, I watched on October 26th. That's right, we've got, I need to move my hand, my nose is so itchy. So this is a mermaid musical horror movie. Yeah, not in English, I forget, I want to say it's Polish, I believe. Same country that Possession was filmed in, right? Poland, I think. I could be wrong. I'm frequently wrong. Just for safety, I'm wrong about everything. Check the canonicity in the bonus episodes. So The Lure is amazing. It is a story about a pair of mermaid sisters who start a band. Yeah, they get found by like a talent agent, and they start a band, and it's really interesting. And for a while, you're like, is this even going to be a horror movie? Oh yeah, it's a horror movie. Lots of body horror. Yeah, just real squishy and good, and I really liked it. And surprisingly accurate to the original Hans Christian Andersen, The Little Mermaid. There were a lot of deep pulls that I was like, all right, respect The Lure. Okay, so I have a little story about this next one. I wanted to get an Edgar Allan Poe movie in this year, and I haven't yet. And so I saw that iTunes had like 6 Vincent Price horror movies for like $10 or something like that. And I was like, that's too much of a steal to not do. So I went with that deal for the 3 Edgar Allan Poe stories that were adapted in it. But after I had bought it, I saw Movie Bob recommended as an also-ran for Schlocktober, Theater of Blood, starring Vincent Price. And I was like, oh shit, that's in that 6-pack that I bought. So I watched it. My friends, you have got to see Theater of Blood. It is incredible. Maybe my favorite Vincent Price performance, though admittedly I haven't seen all of them. He is hamming it up. He plays an actor, and boy howdy, he just is just absolute ham and cheese. Like, he is really just hamming it up. So I recommend Theater of Blood quite a bit. I don't want to spoil what it's about, but it is about an actor who's not going to take it anymore. Really, really liked it. Very campy, but just so good. Like, the last scene of the movie you see coming, and still you're like, yes, yes, yes. Of all the movies on this list, I think this one maybe nails the ending the best, save for one that's coming up in a little bit. All right, let's go modern. For the last 2 that I have for this year's Halloween horror review, 2022's Glorious. I watched on October 28th. Loved it. To get you to watch it without getting anything spoiled, imagine if H.P. Lovecraft wrote a story about a glory hole. That's right, it's about a haunted glory hole. Guy goes into a rest stop, hears a voice from the other stall. There's no one in there. It's the hole itself that's talking. It's amazing. I don't want to spoil any more than that. I wouldn't recommend watching a trailer. And for bonus points, the voice of the hole is J.K. Simmons. That's right, J. Jonah Jameson himself, Teacher Whiplash, Mr. Yellow Peanut M&M would like you to put a nut in him. I loved it. It was really interesting. It felt like one of those you need to go to therapy movies. I really, really, really have a soft spot for movies that feel like the director needs to go to therapy. Though the director and the writer are not the same person. I can't remember their names, but when the credits hit, I was like, oh, interesting. But yeah, a surprisingly touching movie for being about a haunted glory hole. And like, not in a like, oh, it's really funny, but every once in a while it has a good message. Like, the whole thing has a really compelling message, and I really liked it a lot. So if you've never heard of it, I think it's a Shudder original, so you can probably only see it on Shudder, which I kind of hate about the modern era of streaming. But anyway, Glorious, check it out, really liked it. And if the monster in the glory hole is listening, please give us a sign. Nope, nothing. I'm sorry the witch board has been a bit of a bust, but, you know, is what it is. All right, so 2021's Last Night in Soho, directed by Edgar Wright. I watched that on October 29th, which, full disclosure, is the day I'm recording this. So how are you going to get your 31 movie recommendations if I've only watched 29? Well, I thought ahead. I watched some bonus ones. You're still going to get some movies. I'm still going to watch movies for my own personal, you know, setting the record for the next 2 days of October. I will tell you about those on the next episode. But Last Night in Soho, admittedly, fresh in my mind because I just watched it before recording this. Stupendous, stunning, incredible effects, a gorgeous movie to look at. Interesting twists and turns, very psychological, very traumatic. Like, it really goes deep on a lot of issues. But like, never in a way that feels like, oh, this is just preachy, there's no story here. Like, there's also a really compelling story. I don't want to give away too much, so if you don't know anything about it, go check it out. Incredible performances, incredible direction. Loved it, loved it, loved it. Great ending. It's the one that has an ending that I would almost say is Rivals Theater of Bloods, but, you know, still solid ending. Really liked it. Go check it out. All right, I don't know what my last two movies for the month are going to be. I definitely have some ideas of what they could be, but I don't actually know what they're going to be yet. I haven't gotten a Stephen King in, so I was thinking The Mist or Needful Things. I've read Needful Things, so I'm curious what the film adaptation is like. Also, I still haven't gotten a Poe in, so maybe a Poe. We'll see. But anyway, let me give you your last two bonus movies. On October 15th, in addition to watching The People Under the Stairs, I watched me another Clive Barker, and I watched Lord of Illusions from 1995. All I knew about this movie was that it stars Scott Bakula of Quantum Leap fame, and there is a song by the band Sunspot that is called Scott Bakula, where it runs down Scott Bakula's career. And the only thing they pan in the entire song is the movie Lord of Illusions, which I believe, according to the lyrics of the song, I even watched Lord of Illusions even though I thought the movie kind of sucked. That is immortalized in a song, and I must say, you nailed it, Sunspot. The movie was pretty bad. I believe Clive Barker directed it himself, and it is based on a story of his called, I want to say, Cabal. I didn't take notes on any of this, but, you know, if I looked up interesting stuff afterwards, some of it just stuck with me. All right, because we're nearing the end of the episode, I'm going to try to give the planchette one last go. I think I'm just pressing down too hard. Yeah, that's what it is. As soon as I ease up on the pressure, this ghost really wants to talk. Okay, folks, you know, I had people tell me I didn't get drunk enough in the drunk episode, so I might give that one another go. And I'll be honest, I might do Witchboard again, because apparently I'm just pressing too hard. That's interesting. The planchette went back to the heart. Is there a spirit speaking to us at this very moment? That was freaky. The planchette stopped at the exact moment I asked that. Man. Oh, fun. All right. What was I talking about? Lord of Illusions. It kind of sucked. Is this the spirit of... I'm blanking on his name. Dean Stockwell. Are you with us, Dean Stockwell? No, do not. Do not. No. No! I mean, I'd love to talk to the spirit of Dean Stockwell, but like, this feels disrespectful. All right, we gotta pee. I gotta pee, which is ironic because I have to pee. The planchette stopped on a pee. Anyway, Lord of Illusions, not good. Like, it's a lot of like spooky, demon, witch, warlock stuff. But it's a lot of Scott Bakula just kind of walking around trying to solve a case, and every once in a while kind of trying to act tough. This would have been like right after Quantum Leap wrapped up, so I'm sure he was trying to go for like a tough guy image. I'm pushing way too hard on the planchette again. I'm going to ease up and see what happens. All right, I'm touching it much more lightly now. So we got a P, so if something is being spelled out, I would think this is going to be a vowel. Huh. Okay, interesting. PX. If PX means anything to any of you, Professor Xavier from the X-Men? Am I speaking to Professor Charles Xavier from the X-Men? Don't you fucking do it. Don't you fucking do it. Wait. Is this Professor Charles Xavier from the X-Men? Oh, it's going for the no. Oh, this is wild. Okay, all right. Yeah, which boards? Which boards? Do they do anything? So it's not going directly to the no. Okay. It keeps landing on X, which I reviewed the movie X last year, and that one was good. I recommend X. Spirits, are you recommending the film X? Nothing. Just sitting on the X. Spirits, are you recommending the film X, the Man with the X-Ray Eyes, which is one of my favorites? Nothing. Just hovering on that X. Well, folks, sorry if the witch board was a bust, but don't watch Lord of Illusions. I thought the movie kind of sucked. But the last movie on the list, now, categorized as a thriller by iTunes, but I found it to be very horrific, very disturbing stuff. I kind of hate when thriller gets lobbed at movies that are definitely horror movies, but because they're a little more realistic and they're not just about kills and gore, I feel like they get categorized as thriller so adults can feel all adult about watching them, you know, snobby types. So Dead Calm from 1989, I watched on October 23rd, and the reason I watched it was because the week prior, my roommates and I watched Titanic, and one of them was like, ha 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 ha, I found another movie where Billy Zane is a jerk on a boat. And he's a great jerk on a boat. I gotta say, maybe one of the best villains of everything I watched this year. He's really good in it. I won't tell you much more of the premise other than a couple is out on a boating trip and they find a guy in a dinghy who's just like, help me, please, save me. And of course they do the Good Samaritan thing because who wouldn't? And as the movie goes on, you find out why they shouldn't have. Ooh, I'm going to leave you on that chilling bit of information. Really recommend Dead Calm if you haven't seen it. Check it out, though I will say it kind of has two endings. I looked it up afterwards, and they did tack on an ending because test audiences didn't like the original ending. The new ending is like just... The new ending almost makes it more of a horror movie because it's like, all right, we got to go for that schlocky shit. But anyway, I don't want to spoil too much, but see Dead Calm, really liked it. Sorry this planchette is not really looking to boogie. Okay, well, I guess I'm making my touch super light. I know you're supposed to wait to say goodbye to a spirit. That's all I have for movies. Looking through the list again, Eight-Legged Freak's pretty good. The Host, definitely check it out. The Gate's pretty good. Eyes Without a Face, Sleepaway Camp, Last Voyage of Demeter's all right. Definitely Creature from the Black Lagoon. As I'm talking and not paying attention to the planchette, it's moving. So if you see it doing anything interesting. All right, this spirit loves cats. Damnation Land was great. Candyman was great. VHS 85, pretty good. People Under the Stairs, I recommend. Faculty, Let's Scare Jessica to Death. The Wolfman, all really solid recommends for me. Demons 2, The Conference Opera, Phantom of the Opera, The Lure, Theater of Blood, Glorious, Last Night in Soho, and Dead Calm. These are all my definitely check them outs, and if I skipped anything on the list that you liked but I didn't, well, that's okay. We're all different. Oh, wow. I just realized I have never had the opportunity to do this before, but maybe the spirit would like to do the sign off. So, oh, wow. As always, goodbye. I'm not fucking kidding. That just happened. As we got to this point, I remember hearing it is supposedly frowned upon to do a witch board and not say goodbye to the spirit first. So goodbye, spirit. Goodbye. It's also bad luck to do one by yourself. So anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the multicam thing I had going. I hope it worked. And yeah, fun times. I'm now going to take my hands off the planchette. And we'll see if any freaky moves by itself haunted shit happens. That looks like a no. I've also heard it is bad luck to leave the planchette on the board after you're done with it. So let's clear that up right away. The planchette is off the board. And I'm out of here. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the Halloween Horror Review 23, baby.